I'd like to welcome y'all to Secrets from the South. I'm your friend Scotty Ray along with my co-host Terry. Now you'll quickly catch on that we don't sound like the man on the 6 o'clock news. We talk a little slower and we've got a southern drawl. But nonetheless, we've got a great podcast lined up just for you. We'll bring you some interesting stories. They're sometimes crazy and a little unbelievable, but it would be just plain impolite not to share them. So get yourself comfortable. Find some southern charm in a glass of iced tea and enjoy. This week's episode is titled The Invisible Enemy, America's Way of Life Under Attack, COVID-19. Terry, a few months ago, I don't think most people had ever heard the term COVID-19. And look at us today.
Oh, I think everybody knows what COVID-19 is.
It's a different world. We had people in the beginning telling us, don't worry about masks. It's not going to do anything. It will not help you. Now it's the opposite of that.
Oh, you can't go anywhere now without seeing people with a mask. And if you see anybody without a mask coming out of an establishment, a restaurant, a gas station, grocery store, whatever else, you almost look at them like they're an oddball because it's pretty much mandated at most states you are to wear a mask once you enter the establishment and until you get back to your car or wherever else.
And I see both sides of the argument of this. One side, they look at it of, you're infringing upon my rights as an American to make me wear this. The other side, we now realize that this isn't just something in a foreign country. It is here. It is real. But what do you believe? I mean, they tell you in the beginning that you don't need that. Does it really protect you? I still hear that it doesn't protect you, but you have to wear it to get into a store.
You sure do, because like I said, you're going to get some strange looks if you go in a store today without one. And then, at the beginning of it, when you put that mask on, did you not feel a little bit weird?
Well, the church, I went this week, and I can't keep it on but maybe 2 minutes at a time, covering my entire face, and I have to pull it down, catch my breath, and pull it back up. And I sat there the whole service every 2 minutes, janking it down, taking a deep breath, and putting it. I can't breathe.
I mean, are you blue in the face?
I don't know if there's something wrong with my nostrils or what, but I mean, I literally cannot get air in, and it's almost like a panic for me.
Have you seen those folks that are wearing it and then they kind of move it just a tad so they can get that puff from the cig?
Yeah, I've seen that. Like that's really going to help.
Yeah, or there are some that said they've cut out the mouth on it because they said that they just weren't able to breathe and talk where people could understand them.
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of wearing a darn mask?
Now, I really do try, Terry, to wear mine everywhere I go that requires it. If they don't require it, I'm not going to push it on myself because, like I said, but the other afternoon I stopped, and this is the closest I guess I've been to getting bent out of shape over this. I pull up, and I need some lawnmower gas. And I set my gas tank on the tailgate of my truck. I crack the door open. The cash register's right there, and I go to hand her $10 for my gas for the lawnmower. She won't take it. Well, I'd forgotten my mask. I apologized. I went back to my truck. I put it on. I stepped my 1 foot inside the door and handed it to her. Went out and started pumping my gas. Next guy walks in, doesn't have one. She don't say a thing, nothing to him. Lets him in the store. Now I got.
Was he a bigger guy?
Didn't think
Was he
so.
Roy D. Mercer?
But what's good for one?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely.
And I've been in big department stores that'll do that. And you look around, they yell at you, and 12
they
people
must
behind
think they can whip up on you, Scotty.
They pick it on me.
I wouldn't let them pick on you.
That happened like the first week that people were requiring it. And you couldn't even buy them back then. And you had to walk around if you wouldn't know your shirt over your face.
Oh yeah. Well, think about how this whole thing has changed the way that we live.
Is it for the good or is it worse?
Well, let's talk about that. Okay, you got school.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just start with high school on down. You're doing a little bit of combination of virtual learning and then classroom. Some of them, like some of the ones that are closer to us, are going 2 days, and then they're off on like a Wednesday, and then they're doing virtual learning the following 2 days, and then it may reverse. So okay, is that a better learning environment, or is it not?
But I think it's not.
Well, I mean, think about the kids that have gone to school in universities. Some of them have just within the last couple of weeks moved in to a dorm or on campus, only to find out a week later they're doing strictly online and you got to get off of campus.
Yeah, and then you'll have it to where the ones that are going, somebody they know has it and they get quarantined for 14 days and they have to do the virtual and it's back and forth. And, you know, I think we need to go to school. That's my opinion. Do I have scientific data to back up what I just said? No, I do not, before you ask me.
Well, and I guess it's going to be one of those things that we're going to look back on and say about with the mask. You know, has this been beneficial or not? I think that we're seeing that it is. But all of this has just really put us in a tailspin because our life as we knew it has changed. When's the last time you've been to a movie?
Yeah, I hadn't.
And now drive-ins. You know, I used to love going to drive-ins. Did you ever do that where you'd cram about 3 or 4 people in the trunk? You know, it was always just 2 people going to a drive-in when in reality, you know, you'd have 6, 7 people crammed in the car eating popcorn and a Coke.
Correct.
Well, they just kind of died on the vine.
Might come back, mightn't they?
They are coming back. They're opening up because guess what? You and whoever you want to go, you know, that you want to take to a movie, it's just you and you're staying in the confines of your car.
Right.
So that's why drive-ins are making a surge. So I guess that's a good thing.
It is. Now, and we've also learned people throw so much political into all of this. I have learned that I can live without sports. I really can. I don't have to have somebody that makes $50 million every 2 years tell me what to think. That has really turned me against a lot of this stuff.
Well, you got all of these. I mean, like think about you've got college football coming up, and some of them have already declared in advance that, and some of them being D1 schools, were not participating because of COVID-19. And then you have others that are just, you know, eager to get out there. They've even tried LSU. They tried to redesign the helmet so that it really had kind of a shield covering their face. The problem is...
You can't breathe, can you?
They were having problems trying to breathe. I mean, I think at first when it came out, I thought, well, that is an awesome idea. Now, I don't know where they're going to land, but they're still pushing to move forward with having these games. But the problem is they're either allowing 20% capacity in the stadium and trying to figure out, you've got big donors.
Yeah.
So do you allow them to go? Do you allow the student body to go? I would think normal season ticket holders are going to find themselves, myself included, not being able to go. And that's okay. But
so
it's
let me
just
stop
different.
you there and ask you, are you going to pay I saw what another team was offering where you can put a cardboard cutout of yourself in the stands in your seat that you bought for an additional charge.
Does that really make that big a deal for the participants? Whether it's a basketball game or a baseball game or a football game, no, I'm not doing a cardboard unless I can do one that has me about 20 years or younger.
And then the fake crowd applauses and claps and, you know, just get out there and play. If you're going to do it that way. We know what's happening.
Exactly.
Since we're talking about masks and whether or not you like to wear them or not, let's talk about where do you wear them? I mean, do you wear this all the time or not? Because where I'm
not sleeping in one, if that's what you're asking.
And do you feel comfortable around your spouse taking it off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, because he's working from home, and I mean that's not to say he's not getting out and about, but I think Do you feel comfortable?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm deep down, I'm really against this mask thing. I am not a fan of it.
Well, I got a question. Why are people wearing masks if they're in their own car?
That's a good point. Do you remember the story a few months back? And I can't remember the state, but the lady who had it on, she was coming home from work or going somewhere maybe, but she had it on for like 2 hours and she passed out from it because she couldn't breathe well. You know, she just flopped, had a wreck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it ain't safe. And, you know, the next thing that you read, I read where sunglasses, you can get more germs from your pair of sunglasses that you have throwed on your dash than you could not wearing the mask. Now, Do I have stuff to back all this up? The medical, somebody could eat me alive.
Is this the book of Scotty?
This is it. This is Scotty Ray's Common Sense here.
Okay, well, since you mentioned sunglasses, this is really telling you how ignorant I am. If I put the mask on,
yeah,
and I'm a big sunglass wearer. I mean, if it's bright outside, I've got on sunglasses. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
I go into a store, okay? Your natural reaction when you go into a store is what? You take the sunglasses
Correct.
off. If I have that freaking mask on, my brain does not work. I cannot remember to take my sunglasses off.
So you walk around like a mummy look.
Well, I'm cool looking. You didn't know that?
Well, they said there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I thought, oh, Lord, this is coming, to where they were saying goggles should be used with the mask to really protect you. I thought,
I think that's what you need to do is have some goggles. But I'm not lying. I'm thinking, and then I'll be talking to somebody like somebody will be helping me, and I'm thinking, they have to think, this woman has lost her mind. She's walking around. I mean, the mask they get,
right.
They have on a mask too. But I have my sunglasses on. It's like I don't know why.
But a lot of people have to have their reading glasses, and I see this at people hitting doors because it fogs up when they get out and they can't see where they're going.
That happens to me all the time. I mean, I'm at work. I've got on my mask. I've got on my reading glasses. They fog up. So this one is going to be interesting when it all shakes out to see how beneficial the masks really are. I hope so. But I really cannot connect the dots on why I see so many people riding down the road in their own car with no one else in the car now.
Right.
I get that. And they have on their mask.
All right, let's take this a step further because maybe you know the answer. Maybe you don't know what I'm fixing to ask at all. Because I brought up a minute ago where I feel like, well, this is really stepping on my American rights in the greatest country there ever was. But they tell me I can't go to church and hang out with more than 10 people. And that, for months you couldn't go to church at all. But it's A-okay to go run up and down the street and protest. So, and if you've watched any of the protests, they're shoulder to shoulder, in many cases, hundreds, thousands.
Well, I mean, you think about it's just large numbers are just bad business. So I get what you're saying is.
But they said it was okay to protest, but
I think we just have to use it from broader perspective. If you cannot congregate in numbers greater than 10 or 25 or 50 or whatever it is at that current moment, then it applies to everything. But have you noticed? All right, so here it is, a holiday weekend. We had a holiday weekend a couple of months ago. It was jam-packed full of people, especially when it was Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Because that was right when we were kind of loosening the belt, and everybody and their brother was at the beach, at the mountains, having a barbecue.
They also said that heat would kill this at one point.
They did.
So that made it sound like, hey, the beach is the perfect place.
Yeah, but I mean...
But,
large numbers is never going to be... Well, let me tell you this, okay? So we're talking about large gatherings, okay? And that's not a good recipe. And I get where you're coming from. If I can't go to church, why is it good? Why is it acceptable to do other things?
Right, but the thing that I'm trying to point out, and you probably know where I'm going with this, is it's the government officials saying, no, you can't go to church. And then they get on TV and they go, it's okay to be out here and protest. It's your right to protest. But there's 200 of them right there in that little pile. So how can it come out of one side of their mouth, and then they step over here and arrest the preacher that went ahead?
I have given up on trying to figure out.
I know it's politics. I do.
Yeah, and I have, and I'm staying clear of that. But I have given up on trying to figure them out either because I can't make heads or tails of it. But I will say this: I was talking about large numbers of people that are attending weddings.
Okay.
Because the average wedding.
Oh boy, this has really shaken that industry to no end.
The average wedding it's between $29,000 and $39,000.
That's a chunk of change.
That's a chunk of change. So you take that, and you've got people now that are either they've had to come up with some creative ways to have that wedding because they wanted to go ahead and share that special occasion. They wanted to stick to that date, so they made some modifications. Or you've had some that have gone right on ahead, and I know some churches have really cut down on how many people they want attending the wedding. But on the other hand, like some of the receptions, I mean, there have been in the news where they have had receptions that would have 300 plus people in attendance. And when you asked, well, or you saw it on TV or somebody reported it, it was only that half of them had on a mask, your favorite thing.
Correct.
And yet they've had, 30, 40 people come down with COVID-19. So that ought to tell you that when you congregate in large numbers, it's not necessarily going to be a good thing. So talking about how we've evolved because of COVID-19, one of those is that people are now doing micro weddings.
Define micro.
Okay, well, as opposed to a traditional wedding that you have all the bells and whistles, and you can come up with a lot of things now for a wedding. Is, like I said, the average is between $29,000 and $39,000. A micro wedding you can pull off for as easy as $1,000. Didn't you tell me you went to one that was like that, where you have them at a lake or you have them outdoors?
I went to a lake.
And so you never know if that trend is going to stay, because I'm thinking that's a ton of money to have wrapped up in a wedding. Now, I know that is a special event for the people that are going through that.
For you and I who have been married a long time, let me tell you, that does not matter in the long run.
Oh, I would rather take that money and put it towards a home or something like that. But it makes me wonder, when we do come up with a cure or a vaccine or something like that, and I hope like heck it's right around the corner, I wonder if we're still going to have these elaborate weddings that we see today, because so many people have shifted to these micro weddings. And again, this came out of necessity for COVID-19, where the girl may wear a long white dress, but it's not something that is a $10,000 wedding gown. The guy may be in a white shirt and white pants, but he's not in a tux. The same thing for the groomsmen and the bridesmaids. They may not have as many. If they do, it's a little bit more on the casual side. They may have it at a home. They may have it at a very small venue, but the cost of it is a fraction of what the traditional ones are.
All right, let me ask this now, because COVID has wrecked our economy. What about all these venues that made the money, that sold the dresses, that done all the food? These people aren't working now. What are they going to do? Where do they end up from this?
And that's the bad thing, is you just don't know, because they were saying that so many restaurants have closed and closed for good, and so many of them that have been, mom and pop shop restaurants that we all loved, that, have been open for generations and generations. Now, some have come back, but some have closed, and they're closed for good.
And as you just mentioned a moment ago, your husband working from home, I think businesses that are still hanging on have figured out they don't have to have the big office anymore. That day is gone. In between riots that busted out all their windows and set their buildings on fire, and the COVID, why would you go back to a storefront where you're paying $10 million for a building and then all of this electricity, when you could pay your employee $100 extra a month to use their own internet?
Well, some of these that are in these big metropolitan areas, these high rises, they have areas that they call common areas or common work areas, where the traditional office is gone. It may even be the CEO of a company, and they're out in these common areas just kind of sitting on a sofa, or trying to, there's a long table and everybody just kind of works together. Well, to your point, that takes up a lot of money to fund a high rise.
Yeah.
And some of these big companies have the entire high rise. They've got half of it or whatever else. And now, because of COVID, they are allowing more people to work from home. I mean, really out of necessity. And a lot of them are finding out they're just as productive, if not more productive. And now they're going back and looking at this again, where they're saying, this whole structure, this infrastructure that we were so adamant about, people moving to a corporate office or working in a common area, because of COVID, has really reshaped their thinking. And now they're like, we don't need these high rises, just like you said. So they're looking to sell these. The problem is if everybody else is thinking that same thing, is this a easy sell for these high rises or is it not? Because I don't know how many people that will ever return to their office.
And there's so many people that the way they made their living was renting buildings. They were, they owned property, real estate, and they rented, like say you had your own business and you needed an office space, you would rent a little bitty room from somebody inside and then share a conference room. Well, that's fixing to go away, and that guy's going to be left holding the bag. What about all of this to where they pass this to where, and I agree not evicting someone, but what about the guy that's trying to make the note on that property and he can't evict somebody and he can't make his note? Who's going to help him?
It's a mess.
And I don't know the answer to that. It just sounds horrible.
It is a mess. Well, think about, have you ever ridden by any of the car lots? For months, I used to think, oh my gosh, they are really getting hit hard because they can't go out and get any cars, or they're not buying any more cars because they're not making enough revenue.
Right.
But that's not the problem.
No,
it's not. The problem
not.
is they can't get any cars.
Yeah.
I mean, the car lots are empty.
And it's like a ghost town. Now, this also leads into other things that we have found out. A few months back, we needed a freezer. Ours went out. You couldn't find one, and it just didn't ding-dong with me of why. Well, they're not made in America anymore. All of our jobs went to these other countries, and they're not working, so we're not getting the products anymore.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and it makes us wonder that after we get over this COVID-19 and quit wearing the mask, if we do a SWOT analysis where we talk about, what are some of the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and I think we would all agree we have been too dependent on other countries to make products, even medicine.
Oh, that is like huge. Back in the 90s, that kind of just went away, and they told us it was going to be the greatest thing. We were going to make more money by giving this to foreign countries. That's not the case. If you cannot provide for your own people out of your own country, there's a huge problem. You think about that. If we get into an argument with another country, they can just cut us off, and the millions of Americans that could die from not getting their medication.
I hope when it's all said and done that those folks that have lost their job, and I think that's so sad, but I hope there are other opportunities out there that, in the past we've seen, I don't know how much, we had products being made, from another country. I sure hope that percentage gets less and less and less, and we're less dependent on them, because this should be a wake-up call.
Now, if you remember in our area where you and I live, for years, it was people that made socks, it made shirts, blue jeans in our area. All that is just an empty building now that has just gone to waste. And those people lost it. They went to Mexico or China or somewhere those jobs did.
Yeah.
It's time to bring those home.
It absolutely is, especially when you're talking about that we needed ventilators. And we didn't have enough that were making ventilators. And that kind of led into why you had large car companies that said, look, we will help. They'll start making ventilators. Well, guess what? When they're making ventilators, they're not making cars. Here's the flip side is, for some of us who have lost jobs, have lost their businesses, that is a different story. But on the other side, and that's why it's one of those things that it's very puzzling. You got people that are buying like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're buying cars. They're trying to buy the freezer like you're talking about. They are buying, I talked to a friend that has a Honda dealership that sells ATVs.
Uh-huh.
And they sell other things like Suzuki and Yamaha and things like that. They cannot keep them in the store.
And there's a reason for that, isn't it?
Yes.
And we've all learned to where, because you can't go out and do things like you used to. You're doing more with your family. You're doing more by yourself. And you go out and you buy, that's like lawnmowers and anything to do with gardening has like over the top rocketed during this in sales, during this whole pandemic. Anything that dealt with something that you could do at home has done really well during this.
Yes, and we have not talked about one important thing, Scotty.
Oh, you better tell me, because I can't think of it. What is it?
You just hit on it. We're all finding ourselves at home. At least we were a couple of months ago. How many people have better relationships because of spending more time with their spouse and children, and how many of them have been calling their attorney saying,
Well,
I got to get out of this.
I just saw a survey this week that said that divorces were up 20% compared to last year at this time. And you this blows me away. I would have never guessed this in a million years. What is the number one state with the most divorces right now? And it's real close to us.
Louisiana?
Alabama.
Is it really?
They can't handle one another. And what they're basing this on is people that have been married less than 6 months that are filing for divorce. You know, they didn't know the person. It's not long-term marriages. It's newlyweds that just couldn't take it being crammed in with that person.
Well, did they not think this out that you're saying, you know, what is the saying that you say that when you say your vows, it says,
till death do you part.
Death do us part.
And richness,
Yeah.
poor, how did it go?
Well,
do you
we don't
remember?
know. We've been married too long to remember that. Plus, we're too old. We can't remember what our name is.
Yeah, because, you know, it goes into that thing of if somebody gets mad at you, you know, it's okay.
It is okay.
Tomorrow is going to come.
Well, we're not going to remember it anyway.
That's true.
Well, yeah, that is interesting, and I guess it's kind of sad, but it has, this whole COVID-19, I think there's not a person out there that's not saying, I am over this. I got kids at home.
Yep.
Think about, I know a lot of people who have young kids. They are struggling trying to figure out, how am I working? How am I going to do the virtual learning? How am I going to get them to school? And it's trying times for them. I mean, and here's the interesting thing. Guess what store is booming?
Amazon?
Well, Amazon is booming. Think about the ones that when you're confined with your spouse and things are not going good, or your kids are grating on your last nerve.
Oh, the liquor store.
The liquor store. And that is, they were saying that liquor stores are up by a huge percentage, at least 25%, if not more. And so,
that even happened during the Depression. You get depressed, you go drink.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we're not promoting that. We're just saying those are the cold facts. So while some businesses have closed their doors, others are seeing business just flourish.
All right, and here's the next question I throw at you, Terry, of, you know, they're working hard to get a vaccine. Are you willing to take that when they come out with it in 3 weeks, a month, whatever, and they go, okay, we've sped it up, it's ready to go? You going to get that shot?
I don't know, but what about you?
No, I will not. I'm going to make sure.
I mean, are you scared that you're going to take this vaccine and all of a sudden it's going to have some side effects? And,
well, yeah, because, you know.
And you're going to talk with, well, hey, this is my name, Scotty Ray.
I will not take that flu shot because everybody that I know has ever taken it gets sick.
Now, you're not one of these ones that have.
Now, I'm not against vaccines, no.
Okay.
I just know that, like, I'm going off this flu shot thing. Everybody I know that takes it every year goes down and gets it. Right in the dead of winter, they're just dying at home, about sick, dead. And I ain't doing it.
Well, I mean, how long are you going to wait?
I'd have to wait, 8 months to a year.
You're just going to keep being the one that has to wear a mask?
Well, I'm just going to stay away from people. Stay out here in my little corner, mind my own little business. But, I don't know that I trust it that quick. How many times have you, it's like drinking the Kool-Aid. They pat you on the back, oh, it's good. And it really, really good.
And everybody is trying to make a vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a mad dash race. And,
there's always those rumors out there that some people may have helped start this thing to where they could come up with a vaccine to make millions. That's just rumor. I ain't got nothing to back that up.
Well, I think that at some point you're going to have to trust the vaccine. And I know what you're thinking.
Do you take that flu shot?
Yeah, I take the flu shot. Yeah.
You get sick every year?
No.
I think she's lying, y'all.
I'm a testimony of the flu shot working. But you know what I bet?
What?
I bet you push Angie to go get that vaccine, and you're going to sit back and watch and see how she reacts.
I'll let her go first. I mean, it could be like the crazy pill and we don't know it.
What are you going to do if she goes crazy on you?
Leave. Make her mama come get her.
When it's all said and done, how long do you think we're going to be in for this COVID-19? This has rocked our world. Some good things that we pointed out and some bad things.
Let me guess, the day after the presidential election. That's really, I don't know that we can put a timeline on. I don't think it's going to be over by December. By no means do I think at the end of 2020 will it be over. This is going to go on into 2021. Mark my word on this. I don't know who started this thing, but I really feel like this was planted on the United States to hurt us, to take down our economy. Whoever invented this in a lab or wherever it was, and maybe it was China or somebody else, it was let loose on purpose to harm people. And I think that we've got to be aware of our surroundings moving forward. And I think more diseases are coming like this that we've never seen before that people are going to throw at us now. Yeah. So you might as well get you a zip-up suit and hazmat suit to go to Lowe's if you need to get anything, or Wally World. That's
it's bad enough, because if you ever notice going in the grocery store or going into Lowe's, when the people have masks, it's hard to recognize who they are.
I've walked by several people that I knew and didn't know it.
That's kind of a good thing, too.
You get your groceries quicker. And, and this is really catapulted thing that like Walmart does and others do, the pickup, where you do it online. And
it's awesome.
Online sales are just over the top in everything right now.
Yeah, and that's why I said it has redefined how we function day to day. You don't know if you're going to end up going back to what you were before. I don't think we will. I mean, I talked to a friend who does pharmaceutical sales, and I said, and that whole business is based on having those meetings, those face-to-face meetings with a physician. And they've said that they're about 60-40, and that they do not see that they will ever be back to 100%, that some of that is based on and it will be our dependence on technology. So that's another thing that's really booming now. Think about Zoom. Zoom, I don't know how much money they were making beforehand.
It's big now.
Oh, it is huge.
But, you take what I do. I sell, and most of the time you're not going to make that sale unless you're in front of that person, because you're just a name on a piece of paper otherwise. Until you're in front of that person, they can see you and hear what you really got. And 90% of sales has nothing to do with the product. It has to do with, do they like that person?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right.
And people follow the person, not the product most of the time. And it's really going to change the way America operates.
Now, let me ask you something, Scotty.
Put it on me.
Since you're not going to get the vaccine anytime soon, are you going to be the one that's going to be wearing the hazmat suit going out trying to get a sale?
Well, I might have to just tip somebody to go get it for me. And speaking of this, I went out. We ate in our first restaurant the very first time since all this began this past weekend.
How'd it go?
It was perfect. I took my little mask off and I enjoyed my little chips there while I was eating my Mexican dip, and nobody bothered me. It was great.
Were you spaced 6 feet apart?
Let's see. It was me and Angie on this side, and another couple was sitting right across from us. So I guess that's 2.5 feet. But nobody else was around.
But I mean, like the table.
Yeah. The rest of everybody else was away, because it was so weird to pull up in the place not to be packed where you couldn't get a parking place. You could pull up to the front door. And I was like, whoa, this is not right.
Restaurants have to, for them to really survive, they need to have at least 75-80% capacity at all times. And now they're only been told that they can have, 50% or 20%, whatever it is, and it may vary from state to state. How do they make it?
Well, think about the waiter, too. That's, most of them make $2.50 an hour plus tips.
On that tip.
And if you're not there to tip them, somebody's going hungry, is all I got to say. And how do we fix this?
I don't know. But I think we're going to end up looking back on this and saying, I hope we look back on this and saying, we got some real changes that we need to make.
By no means do we have the answers to America's problems, but we would like for you to try the Southern way. And that's by doing things a little bit slower, being a little bit nicer, and being a little bit more understanding with your neighbor. So when no one is looking, pull your mask down, take a deep breath, and know that America has been tested before. As always, united, we will overcome. We hope you enjoyed our podcast and will continue to listen more. We promise to provide stories that intrigue you, provide a little humor, reflect our heritage and culture, whether it's strange and alarming. Please leave us a review and let us know how we're doing. Let us know whether you liked or disliked. Do you have a story to share? If so, we'd like to hear from you. Please email us at comments@secretsfromthesouth.com and provide a brief description of your story along with contact information, and we'll be in touch. Until next time, a secret, you've learned that no one can read your lips with a mask on.